Hey everyone, welcome to Tangle 15. So let's do what I did at the very end of last episode more slowly. Build and deploy, the rhythm of development. So first, I'm going to get rid of my running containers in Docker. And just to be complete, I'll get rid of the images that were created as well. Go to the command line and make sure I'm in my working directory. And then do a Maven build. First, by doing clean. See, if you look in the target directory, you'll see there's a bunch of stuff that got created. Now, if I do a Maven clean, and then you'll notice that there's no more target directory. So this starts from scratch. So we're going to do a Maven clean and then package, which creates the jar file. And I'm going to skip the tests because they won't work right now because I don't have a database running. Now, if we look in the target directory again, you'll see that it's back here. So we got a brand new jar file. So notice this jar file. This is really important. That's our program right there. And now I'm going to do a Docker build and call it big fractal Tangle. This is our image of the program that we created. And finally, I'm going to do a Docker compose up. And that's going to do both Postgres and this Tangle image that I just created. So I just made it and now it's running it. And you can see it says started Tangle application. So you see it created these two images, Postgres, big fractal, and it's now running, and this is important, running the Tangle DB and the Tangle app. Let's try it out in Postman. Remember, so far the program only does an API. There's no web browser component. So if I do this localhost 8080 entry list and do send, it comes back with a blank list. Let's add a few more REST calls in here. So if we go into our test class, which is right here, we can mirror these automated tests in Postman so that we can do ad hoc testing as well. So for this one, it's post, and I'm going to put these same headers in and a body value. Let's go in here, create a new REST call. It's going to be a post. It's going to be the same format as this, but instead of entry list, it's going to be entry. Go into the headers. I'm not interested in the auto-generator one, so just leave that out. Click hidden. Just start typing content type, and the value is going to be application JSON, except, and go to the body, and you pick raw, and then the format needs to be JSON. Put it in braces, and then with JSON, you put quotes around everything. So let's look at our bean, and you can see that we got key, title, author, body. So all right, let's try it out. Send. And it came back not found. Oh, right. That's because I called it entry bean. Try one more time. All right. So it came back with the same bean, but now it has ID 1. So this worked. So I'm going to save it into my Tangle, and I'm going to call it post entry bean. Now, if I go back to my entry list and do it again, it returns this in the list. I'm going to quickly do the other REST calls here. Okay, try put, and then run this again, and you can see it returns the change value. Oh, we got to do get as well, and then it gets that. Save that one as well. Okay, and then last the delete and send. Came back with an OK. Save it. And so we have get the list, get the bean, delete the bean, post the bean, put the bean. So we have a full set. Let's rename the collection. Okay, two quick things before moving on from Postman. First is it's a good idea to save this to your source code repository. Right now it's just being saved in your Postman account. So to do that, you go into your collection and then do export down here, and it allows you to save some JSON. And I'm going to put it in resources. I'm going to make one called Postman and put all my Postman in there. And then I'm just going to call this entry mirroring the collection name. Next thing is that, see how we have this localhost 8080? We're going to want to use these same calls in different environments. So we have to create what's called an environment. So you go to environments and create one. And I'm going to call this one localhost and then add some variables. So I'll call it API host, which is localhost, and API port, which is 8080. Be careful about hitting enters and stuff in here. It can really trip you up if you put an enter. Save it, go back to the collection, and now we can use variables here instead. So I'm going to just double click on localhost and then between two braces, API host, and then again between two braces, API port. And let's try it out, send. Oh, wait, forgot. Got to pick the environment. So you got to pick, now we have this list down here. So you just do localhost, now do send. And it works. So I'm going to do it for all of them. And then save the collection one more time. So where else can you point this thing? How about the cloud? Let's push what we've built to the cloud. First, though, I need to configure credentials for the command line so I can run these tools. Go into my users, Tangle, and security credentials. Now down below, it says access keys and create access key. So I'm going to click that, and then the top one says command line interface. That's what I want to choose. Oh, I understand. Let's give it a name. Create the access key. I'm going to put both of these things into one password. Now go to the command line. Stop this. And in my work directory, I'm going to do AWS configure. It's going to ask for that first access key that I got, then the secret access key, and then the region name, which is US East 1, and then the default output format, JSON, and we're done. Now just to make sure that we can do something, we can try AWS AIM get user, which should just get your user information. So if you get something like that, that means that you've got your credentials all set up. Let's push our image to the cloud as quickly as we can. This is not going to be the way we do it long term, but this is a simple way to get started. So I'm going to go to EC2, which is Amazon's Linux box in the cloud service. Click launch instance. Give it a name. I'll call it Tangle box. Amazon Linux. Free tier eligible. T2 micro, free tier eligible. I create a key pair. I like using this instead of RSA. Tangle box. Hem. Create key pair. Downloads it. And create a security group. Allow SSH from my IAP. This is fine. Okay, this all looks pretty good. So I hit launch instance. And now we have our own machine in the cloud. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to need this IP address. So I'm going to copy that. And I want to set up my SSH locally. So to do that, you do make dir SSH. I'll go into that same directory. And I'm going to move the downloaded PEM file that I just had. And I have to change the permissions on it to 400. So, and now I can do SSH I -I Tangle box, and then the login for the box, which is going to be EC2 -user at, and then that IP address that I copied. Not sure why the connection was refused. Let's try it again. Okay, that time it worked. So it says, I don't know who this is. Hit yes. And now we're in. All right, so we have a completely blank Linux box. First thing I want to do is install Docker. I'm going to start by doing yum update. It says everything's updated. Sudo yum install Docker. Yes. Now I don't remember the steps here, so I'm going to go here, scroll down. Okay, this is it. Sudo service Docker start. And then you do this one so that you don't have to keep typing sudo to use Docker. User mod a g Docker EC2 user. Next, type new group Docker to add my user to the Docker group, and then let's try Docker info to see if it works. And it does. All right, next up we have to copy our Docker compose file here. So I'm going to go back to my own local machine, and I'm going to do SCP, which stands for secure copy. And I'm going to use the same Tanglebox PEM, and I'm going to copy Docker compose to EC2 user at that. And there it is. Now I have to install Docker Compose, which is a separate program. And to do that, I need to do this, and then this, and then check it. Last, I need to make sure that my Docker image is ready for an Intel architecture. So to do that, I export Docker default platform equals Linux AMD64. It really should say Intel, but AMD beat them to the registration punch. And then I'm going to do another Docker build. And then if I look in here, you can see it has this AMD 64 warning, and that's just telling me that I can't run it on my local machine, but that's what we want. And now I'm going to do a Docker push to push it to Docker Hub. So now we should be all set to do our Docker compose. So Docker compose up. And it says started Tangle application. So it's working. How do we know this? We're going to do Postman. Actually, first let me grab that IP address again. And I'm going to make a new environment. I'm going to call this EC2 Tangle box. And it's API host and that IP address, API port, and it's still 8080. So, and save it. Now, if I go back to my entry list and change the environment to the new environment, let's see if it works. Comes back blank. That's correct. Let's try the rest of them. Hit send, and it did add it. And now let's see if we can get it back. It did. Let's see if we can change it. And get it back again. This worked. And then we're going to try deleting it. And all right. We just ran our API in the cloud. Now it's time to save our work. So go here, and we got this Docker Compose file, and we got this. That's wrong, so I'm going to delete that. And then this entry.json file is from Postman. So we have to add that. Click add to VCS. And then we're going to have after deploy to cloud, I'll say EC2. And then commit and push. Oh, I got to do this first. Now this is going to be pushing it to this deploy to Docker branch. If we want to merge it to main, switch to main by checking out. So now we're in the old code. And then I'm going to do deploy to Docker, merge this into main. And it merged. So then I want to push this. So this rhythm will become second nature as we go forward, and I'll do it more slowly in the future. All right, that's the end of this week. Next week, we're going to do the front end. Thanks for listening.